Students, welcome to the Knowledge Formation channel. I, Sheikh Mohammad Sabaudin, a teacher as well as a student of physics. Today I am going to take online class on my subject, and today's topic is electrostatics part 1. So let's start. Today I am going to discuss 10 points of electrostatics. Concept of electrostatics, second, characteristics of electric charge, third, Coulomb's law, fourth, unit of charge, 5, define 1 coulomb, 6, superposition principle, 7, continuous charge distribution, 8, electric field concept, 9, electric intensity, 10, electric lines of force and its properties, and last, some important points to remember. So let's start with point number 1. So point number 1 is concept of electrostatics. So what do you mean by electrostatics? Electro deals with charge and statics means at rest. So electrostatics is the study of charge at rest. Now how many types of charge are there? We know that there are two types of charge, positive and negative. And we know our from our very childhood in from class 8 and 9 that two same charges, similar charges repel each other while two dissimilar charges attract each other. And what do we know about that about atom? We know that in an atom there is a nucleus at the center and electrons revolve around the nucleus in so many orbits. And what is inside the nucleus? Inside the nucleus there is a proton, there is some protons and neutrons. So total forms the atom. Now let us discuss some examples of electrostatics. So static charge, when we rub glass, let us consider this is glass and this is silk. When we rub a glass with silk, then automatically there will be a positive charge developed on the glass and a negative charge develops on the silk. Similarly, when we rub ebonite rod with far, then a negative charge develops in the ebonite rod and positive charge develops in the far. Now a very easy example of static charge can be found in our home when we comb our dry hair and bring this comb to small pieces of paper. Let us keep some small pieces of paper here and we comb our dry hair with this comb, and when we bring this comb we will see that the small pieces of paper will get attracted to the tips of the comb. Why this happens? When we comb our dry hair, then there acquires a negative charge at the tip point of the comb, and this negative charge induces positive charge towards the near end of the papers and then it attracts them. So this is the very common example which we see very often in winter season. Similarly, so when an aeroplane fly, then due to the friction of air there develops charge on the body of the aeroplane. So when the airplane lands down and we start fueling the aeroplane, when we put fuel inside aeroplane's tank, then before fueling we have to discharge the body so that the charge get grounded. Otherwise, while refueling, when we put fuel in the aeroplane, then a small spark due to collision, if a small spark generates, then due to so many charges and the fuel, a large accident can happen. So in this way we discharge the static charge developed on the body of aeroplane. And one more example, when a fuel car it carries, when the car carries fuel, or a tank truck carries fuel, goes in the on the road, then due to the friction of the air, there develops a charge on the body of the truck or car. So before putting fuel, what you have to do, we discharge the body of the car, so that while refueling, due to collision, if a small spark generates, then again there will be accident. So how we refuel this? Nowadays the tire of the cars are made up of carbon material, so the charge automatically goes to the ground and it gets discharged. But in the previous days, there used to be a metallic chain hanging from the trucks carrying fuel, and these metallic chains is used to drag the charge towards the ground. And the most important example we can uh, see that in case of large long buildings or tall monuments, we see that there is a metallic rod, on the top of the monument. Why it is given? Say this is metallic rod and this is monument. So when the lightning occurs during rain, then due to a large amount of charge, instead of falling on the monument, it falls on the tip portion of the metallic rod, and this metallic rod provides low resistance path, and the whole charge goes to the ground, and it is earth, and it is connected with this rod is connected with a copper plate inside the ground. So the charge easily flows to the earth, and this protects the building from getting damaged. So this is a good example of static charge. So in this chapter we have dealt with the charge at rest. Electrostatic is the study of charge at rest. In the next chapter we will study current electricity, and in that case we will deal with the charge in motion, which charge in motion gives current, but static charge does not gives current. So let us start point number 2. So point number 2 is characteristics of electric charge. Let us discuss the first characteristics of electric charge. Quantization of charge. What do you mean by quantization of charge? The charge carried by a body is always an integral multiple of the smallest unit of charge. This is quantization of charge. We can see here, let us consider charge q be present on any body. So charge q on any body should always be integer multiple of the smallest unit of charge, that is E, where n is the integer multiple, its value is 1, 2, 3 dot 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 natural number. So this is called quantization of charge. And let us discuss the second characteristics of characteristics of charge, conservation of charge. In this equation we can see that uranium, the atomic number is 92, and it gives thorium and helium. The atomic number altogether is 90 plus 2, 92. So the atomic number before and after the reaction are same. So the atomic number, that is the charge, is conserved. Similarly, we can see that mass number of uranium is 238, and on the right hand side the mass number is 234 plus 4 means 238. So the mass number is also conserved. So in an equation, in the both side, the atomic number and mass numbers are conserved. This is called conservation of charge. Now let us discuss point number 3, Coulomb's law, its statement and expression. So what does Coulomb's law say? The Coulomb's law say that if two charges q1 and q2 are placed at a distance r apart, then Coulombs tell that the force of attraction or repulsion between 2 point charges at rest is directly proportional. We can see here the expression directly proportional to the product of the charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. So this is the statement of Coulomb's law. The force between two charges is directly proportional to the product of charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the charges. So combining these two expressions, we get this one, and this is K, which is proportionality constant. Now putting the value of K equal to 1, we get the expression for Coulomb's law in CGS system, and in SI system the value of K is found out to be experimentally 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0, where epsilon 0 is the permittivity of vacuum or air or permittivity of free space. So putting this value in the expression, we get Coulomb's law in SI system, and epsilon 0 is this. The value of epsilon 0 is found out to be 8.854 into 10 to the power minus 12 in SI unit, and putting this value of epsilon 0, we get 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 is equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square Coulomb to the power minus 2. This value we have to memorize by heart, because in sums we have to put this value. This value is not given, we have to memorize it. So putting this value here, we get F is equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Q1 Q2 by R square. So this is Coulomb's law in vacuum. Now if we place these two charges in any other medium apart from air, the medium may be oil, maybe NaCl solution, anything, then the expression becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 Q2 by R square, where epsilon is the permittivity of the medium in which the two charges are immersed. So what is the relation between epsilon and epsilon 0? Epsilon is equal to K epsilon 0, where K is the relative permittivity or dielectric constant of the medium. So this is the expression. We can also find out the dimension of epsilon 0 from Coulomb's law, expression of Coulomb's law, putting the value of Q1, Q2 and F R square, putting all these dimensions, we find out the dimension of epsilon 0. It is important, it always comes in the MCQ question. Now let us discuss the validity of Coulomb's law. The condition of validity of Coulomb's law is it applies only for point charges when the charges size are negligible in comparison to the distance of separation, and the distance between the two charges should be greater than 10 to the power minus 15 meter, that is nuclear distance, and the two charges should be at rest with respect to the observer. So these are the conditions for the validity of Coulomb's law. Now let us discuss the vector form of Coulomb's law. So Coulomb's law of vector form, if we place two charges Q1 and Q2, let the two charges be similar charges. So let F1 to be the force on charge Q1 due to Q2. So those two charges will repel each other in opposite direction with two equal and opposite force. So F12 is the force on one Q1 due to Q2. So it is along this direction. Similarly, F21 is the force on charge 2 due to charge 1. So it is along this direction. Both are opposite. Now let R1 to be the displacement from Q1 to Q2 along this direction, and R21 be the displacement from Q2 to Q1 along this direction, R21. So R21 and F12 are along same direction, and F21 and R12 are along same direction. So let us now find the expression for vector form of Coulomb's law. F12 vector is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q1 q2 by r square. So this is the magnitude part, and we have to give unit vector. So unit vector is r21 cap, because F12 and R21 are along same direction. So F12 is equal to magnitude into R21 cap. Now unit vector R21 means magnitude by vector by its magnitude. So R21 vector by r square into r is r cube. So this is the expression for Coulomb's law in vector form. If instead of F12 here it is F21, then here it will be R12, because F21 and R12 are along same direction. Let us now discuss point number 4, unit of charge. SI unit of charge is coulomb and CGS unit of charge is stat coulomb, and the relation between coulomb and stat coulomb is 1 coulomb is equal to 3 into 10 to the power 9 stat coulomb. Now let us discuss point number 5, define 1 coulomb. In Coulomb's law, if we put the value of F is equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton and R is equal to 1 meter, that is distance between two charges be 1 meter, and let Q1 Q2 be is equal to Q, that is both the charges are same magnitude, and 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 is equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9. This we already know this. So putting all the values in Coulomb's law, we know that Coulomb's law is F is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 by R square. So putting the value of F is equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9 and 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 is equal to 9 into 10 to the power 9. Q1 Q2 is equal to Q into Q by R square. R is equal to 1. So 1 square. So cutting both the sides, we get Q square is equal to 1, that is Q equal to plus minus 1. So from this we can define the value of 1 coulomb. So if the force between the two charges is 9 into 10 to the power 9 Newton and the distance between them is 1 meter, then the amount of each charge is 1 coulomb. So this is the definition of 1 coulomb. This is very important. Now let us discuss point number 6, superposition principle. What is superposition principle? Superposition principle states that if we place so many charges close to each other, say here we consider 3 charges Q1, Q2 and Q3. So Coulomb's superposition principle states that force on any one charge due to all the charges placed close to each other will be equal to the vector sum of all the force acting on it. So let us consider force on Q1, net force on Q1 be F1, the total force on Q1 be F1. So F1 is here and force on Q1 due to Q2 is equal to F12. Force on Q1 due to Q3 F13. So Coulomb's superposition principle states that the total force F1 on charge Q1 is equal to the vector sum of all the forces F12, F13, F14, F15 dot F1n if there are n number of charges. Now if we put the value of F12, we know that the vector form is 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 by R cube. It is here it is given F12, so here it will be R21, and for F13 here it will be R31 Q1 Q3 R31 by R cube plus dot and so on for n number of charges. So if we write this expression of Coulomb's law with the help of superposition principle in summation form, the final expression will be this 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Fi is summation over qi qj. q1 q2 is there, qi qj are to 1, 1 to 1, ij ji rj I by r cube, and j runs from 1 to n, and j should not be equal to I. Here we can see that here we can't write q1 into q1. When I equal to j, then q1 will be equal to q1. When I equal to j, we will write q2 is equal to q2, which is not possible. This should always be different. So if it is q1, j will be q2, q3, q4. If it is q2, j will be q1, q3, q4. It will not be q2. So this is the expression for Coulomb's law with the help of superposition principle when so many charges are placed close to each other. Let us see its statement. So this is the statement of Coulomb's superposition principle. The total force acting on a charge due to a number of interacting charges around it is the vector sum of the individual forces acting on that charge due to each of the other charges. Now let us discuss point number 7, continuous charge distribution. So instead of point charge, we move onwards to continuous charge distribution. So let us consider a line element, a single line element containing charge. So which is at a distance, here we consider a small element delta L which contains charge delta Q. So which is at a distance r dash from the origin. So what will be the linear charge density? That is charge per unit length. Delta Q is the charge in this length delta L. So delta Q by delta L, charge per unit length, is defined as linear charge density lambda. Now this is the case of one dimension. Let us move towards two dimension. In case of two dimension, instead of line we consider an area. So let us consider that delta Q amount of charge is present in small area delta S. So here we define new term, surface charge density. Here it is linear charge density, here it is surface charge density sigma is equal to charge per unit area. Similarly, in case of three dimension, it is volume. Rho is volume charge density, that is charge per unit volume. These all expressions will be required while doing sums. Now let us discuss point number 8, concept of electric field. So what is the concept of electric field? We know that when we consider a mass, small mass m, then there will always be a gravitational field around it. So due to mass there is a gravitational field. What Newton's law of gravitation tells, it tells that when we bring another mass in this gravitational field, then these two body will attract with each other by the Newton's law of gravitation. Newton's law of gravitation tells that every two body in the universe attract each other with a force of attraction. So due to mass there is gravitational field. Now if we consider a magnet, north pole and south pole, then due to this magnet there is always a magnetic field around it. If we bring some iron pieces within this field around the magnet, these iron pieces will get attracted towards the magnet. But if we keep the iron outside this field, say we keep iron here, then as the iron is outside the field of this magnet, so it will not feel its attraction because it is away from the magnet, so it is outside the range of the magnet. So this is the field which is the range of the magnet. So this is magnetic field. Now what is electric field? This in our topic it is electric field. So concept of electric field is due to charge. If we consider a charge, so due to this charge there will be also a field. This field is called electric field. So if we bring a charge, let us consider let us bring a positive charge within this field. So if we place a positive charge in the electric field of this source charge, then due to similar charge this will experience a force, it will repel it. But if we keep this positive charge outside this field, say, so it will does not feel any repulsion, because this charge have to be kept inside the electric field of this charge. So if the charge is within this field, it will feel some force, but if it is outside the field, it will not feel any force. So this is the concept of electric field. Now let us discuss point number 9, electric intensity. So point number 9 is electric intensity or strength of the electric field. The symbol of electric intensity or strength of electric field is E, which is vector quantity, E vector. So let us derive the expression for electric intensity. If we consider a charge, so there will be an electric field due to this charge. So this is source charge. This source charge generates an electric field. So to determine the electric intensity of this charge, we have to bring another charge. Let us consider this charge to be Q and the test charge be Q naught. So if we bring a test charge Q naught in the electric field of source charge, it will experience a force, a repulsive force. So what is electric intensity? Electric intensity E is equal to force experienced by this charge Q0, force experience per unit charge Q0. So electric intensity at a point due to any charge is defined as the force experienced per unit charge. This is the definition of electric intensity and this is the expression of electric intensity. So what will be the SI unit of electric intensity? We know that unit of force is Newton and unit of charge is Coulomb. So if we multiply numerator and denominator by meter, now Newton into meter is nothing but joule, and if we put it on the numerator side, it will be Coulomb inverse and meter inverse. Now joule Coulomb inverse is nothing else but it is actually volt. So it is volt meter inverse. So the SI unit of electric intensity is Newton per Coulomb and it can also be written as volt meter inverse. This is very important. Already in the competitive HS exam, in MCQ question it has been asked many times what is the SI unit of electric field, and this value is given in the option. So please remember these both are the unit of electric intensity, Newton per Coulomb or volt per meter. So what will be the expression for electric intensity? We know that Coulomb's law in scalar form is F equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q naught and the distance between them, if it is r, then r square. So electric intensity E is equal to F by Q naught. So 1 Q will be divided and it will be omitted, 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q by R square, Q naught, and this Q naught will cancel, and this is the expression for electric intensity due to a single point charge. Single point charge. So this is the expression for electric intensity due to single point charge. Now let us discuss point number 10. Point number 10 is electric lines of force. So what is electric lines of force and what are its properties? Let us discuss. We can see it from the diagram. These lines of force are all called electric lines of force. So electric lines of force are the number of lines of force coming out from a positive charge and entering the negative charge. It is also one of the properties that lines of force always comes out of the positive charge and enters the negative charge. It gives the direction of electric intensity at any point. So let us discuss the second point of electric lines of force. So second property of electric lines of force says that if we draw a lines of force, this is, say it is lines of force. So if we want to know the direction of electric intensity at any point on the lines of force, then it will be given by the tangent drawn at that point. So if this is the lines of force, then the electric intensity at this point is given by the tangent at this point. So the electric intensity at this point is given by the tangent on that point on the lines of force. So this is the property of electric lines of force. And next, another property, the third property of electric lines of force is that two lines of force never intersect each other. So here we have drawn two lines of force, it will not intersect each other, never, because if it intersects each other, say it is intersecting each other, then at the point of intersection, if we draw the direction of electric field, so for these lines of force the tangent will be along this direction, and for these lines of force the tangent will be along this direction. So for a particular point, at the point of intersection, we get two directions of electric intensity, one along this direction and one along this direction. So a single point in the electric lines of force can't have two directions of electric intensity. So we can say that the two lines of force never intersect each other. This is the very important question, 1 marks type question. Try to keep it in mind and try to write down the answer. One more important property, property number 4 of lines of force is that lines of force never pass through a conductor. Let us consider a conductor. In case of conductor, charges always reside on the surface of the conductor. There is no charge inside the conductor. Inside the conductor there is no charge. Charges always reside on the surface of the conductor. And what happens, these lines of force, if these lines of force are coming from a charge, these lines of force will never pass inside the conductor, it will always flow outside, it will never pass through a conductor. So this is another property of lines of force. And one more important thing, if we want to determine magnitude of electric intensity at a point, here it is a point is given, and if you want to determine magnitude of electric intensity, what is the magnitude of electric intensity? So what you have to do, we have to consider a unit area around this point. Around this point we have to consider a unit area. So the number of lines of force passing normally at 90 degree to this area, which is unit area around this point, gives the magnitude of the lines of force. We can't consider the lines of force outside this area. Inside this unit area, the number of lines of force give the magnitude of electric intensity at this point. So this is one most important property of electric lines of force. Now let us discuss today's last point, point number 11, some important points to remember. This I have already discussed. Charges always reside on the surface of a conductor. So charges always reside on the surface of a conductor. It will not be inside the conductor. Now in many books, in class 12 level books or in joint competitive exam books, in joint questions, this type of pictures will be given in sums. So what does this type of pictures indicate? So this type of pictures, the first picture in which point is given, this first picture indicates uniform electric field. Uniform electric field acting perpendicular to the plane of paper directed outwards. So it gives the electric field directed outwards from the plane of paper. That means on the other side of the paper there is north pole, and towards us from where we are seeing there is south pole. So lines of force are coming from north towards south towards our eyes outside the paper. And what is this cross symbol indicates? If this cross symbol indicates these are equally spaced, so it is also uniform electric field acting perpendicular to the plane of paper, but it is directed inwards, that is inside the plane of paper. That means from where we are seeing there is north pole, and on the other side of the paper there is south pole. So lines of force are going inside the plane of paper normally, that is perpendicular. Next, what does this picture indicates? This indicates strong uniform electric field. Since the lines of force are very closely spaced, these are parallel, so it is strong and uniform electric field, and the source of this field is at infinity. Because these are parallel, so the charge is placed at infinity. And beside this there is weak uniform electric field. Since this is parallel, so it is uniform, and it is weak because the lines of force are there are larger gap compared to this, the gap are much larger. So this is weak uniform electric field. And at last, from this picture we can see that this is non-uniform field. These are uniform because these are parallel. This is non-uniform field having positive source towards left. So the source is towards this side, positive charge. From this lines of force are coming out. So this is the picture of non-uniform field. So thank you for watching the video. Part 2 of the video is already given. You can see it in the description, the link of which is given, the part 2 of this video, and please subscribe the video. Thank you.